All right, I think that's everything. We get it all? Yep, I think we got everything. Okay, let me know if this audio is working. I don't know if it is or not. All right, we're going to drive the BR442 Talent from Aachen to Köln. See how that goes. All right, here we go. So we'll get some doors open. There we are. We need to get our sign turned on. We do that here. Right? So that's done. And we need to, so we turn these off. Off, I said. Those are on. We need this panel. Not that one, not that one. This one. We want that on. Want that on. Want that on. Back here. Pull this down. All right. I think we're good. Maybe. Yep, I think we're good. All right, we're gonna need to wait a minute till we leave. So while we're doing that, I'm gonna sort a couple things out here. All right, and I think we're good. Is that right? Yep, that's right, that's right, that's right. Everything is good. All right, here we go. So we're running all the safety systems right now. We've got the LZB, PZB running, we've got CIFA running, and we've also got, we're running the tempo map, and that's the cruise control for this particular train. So if we can pull this off, we're going to go end to end with no emergency braking events. It sounds easy. I struggle with it, particularly on this route. The signaling in Train Sim World 2, I mean, like the signaling in Train Sim World 2020, the signaling is not, I don't know, I'm reluctant to say it's not done, but there's some things that are not really explained very well. There's not a lot of, well, there's no manual really. There's like a quick start for the locos, but as far as an explanation of the signaling, like what all this means, that all comes from the community. Various people put together documents and things to kind of help you out and figure out what's going on. All right, so we're going to drop out. Yep, that screen just cleared, so we are out of our restriction now, and we're in a 100 zone. We're just waiting for the tail of the train to clear it. There we go. So we can get up to 100 now, but we do have a stop coming up in just over 1 kilometer. So as soon as we get up to speed, we'll have to immediately start braking. My rule of thumb is whatever our speed is, that's the distance in meters that I need to get slowed down for the next stop. So if we're going 100 kilometers an hour, I need about 1 kilometer to get slowed down and stop. And I would rather be a little slow getting into the station than overshoot the platform. And yeah, I'm surprised. When I first got into this, I wasn't using any of the safety systems. When I first got into Train Sim, I wasn't using any of the safety systems, and I was just driving trains. You know, more or less, you just be aware of the speed limits and try not to miss your stops. But when you add all the safety stuff in and really start to try to pay attention to the signals and figure out what they all mean, there's a lot to driving a train. which makes sense. I mean, it is, I think this unit that we're in right now is 400 tons. Did I read that right? Which is quite a bit of weight to move around. All right, on time, and we hit our mark. So we're off to a good start. And if we hop outside, yeah, we got a minute to hop outside. And that sign that I turned on earlier is this thing right here, the reader board. They're not automatic. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, in a way, I guess I would kind of like it to set that stuff up automatically, but I understand that it doesn't, and it's, I don't know, it's a detail, it's realism, right? Because a real train driver in real life would have to set that stuff up. The only thing that I guess challenges me in a frustrating way is you don't necessarily get enough time to do that. They do give you like 1 extra minute when you're starting a route to get the train all configured and set up, but sometimes I'd like a little bit more than a minute. You know, I'd like to, I imagine in real life that a train driver has plenty of time to get situated, do a walk around, you know, stow their jacket, all that sort of stuff. All right, now we are early by 2 seconds. I will take it. Okay, so we've got 7.5 kilometers to go. As soon as we leave the station, we're going to pass into a 120 kilometer per hour zone, but we'll need to wait for the tail of the train to clear it. And by the time, hopefully by the time the train clears that, we'll be getting up to speed, so we won't have to readjust. Yeah, so we're into the 120 kilometer per hour zone before we're even at the previous speed limit. Okay, cool, everything is working out. So far so good. And we do have SIFA on. That makes a horrible sound. In some of the other locos, it's just a voice that says SIFA. In this one, it is a really jarring sound. So I'll do my best to keep the SIFA happy, so we never have to hear that. All right, and we're coming up to a 140, and we've got, yeah, plenty of time to our next stop. So there's that. There's 140. All right. There's a panel called Rail Driver, which is like you have a wheel for driving sims and you have a flight stick for flight sims. There's a control panel for Farm Boy. Hey, how's it going? There's a control panel for train sims as well, called Rail Driver, and there was no functionality in Train Sim World 2020, which really pissed a lot of people off. But it's supposed to be added for Train Sim World 2. Sorry, I'm intensely concentrating. I'm going to try to monitor the chat as well as possible, but I'm really like focused on everything that's going on. So yeah, I would love it if they brought that in. Now, I don't know if I would use it, because it would be something else to put on my desk, and I don't have room enough on my desk as it is. So it would be something else to add to my desk. But I like the idea of controlling a train with train controls. That just, you know, that fits. That makes sense. So something else that is going to happen on this route, I'm learning the signals, but I believe you start to get blinking green lights when the track is clear ahead of you, but there's going to be a speed change. And what I need to do is really learn to monitor those blinking green signals to know that we don't necessarily have to start braking straight away, but we need to be ready to start braking. Okay, there's that one. And because we need to stop for, where are we getting to? Stolberg. Because we need to stop for Stolberg, we'll be under 120 kilometers per hour by the time we get to that speed zone. Even though we're at 140 now, we'll be slowing down to 120 before we get there. So there's 1.4 kilometers, so I'll start slowing down now. And if this works out right, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. If this works out right, we will be just getting into the station at like 30 or 40 kilometers per hour. Hopefully. Alright, so we'll set that to 40. Tap the SEPA. Yeah, we're going a little bit fast. We're still at 90 kilometers an hour and we're about a quarter mile out. I maybe should have slowed that down a little earlier. But we certainly cleared that 120 kilometer per hour speed limit. Yeah, still going a little fast. But we should make it. Man, the window, the timing to hit these stops on time, you have to go fast. But if you go fast, you risk overshooting the platform. And there's also, it looks like there's almost a G meter in the HUD now. And I'm guessing that may be for like passenger comfort and safety. And I don't want to like bang the customers around. All right, so we'll get this thing stopped. And we are, somehow, we're like a minute and a half early. But you know what? I'll take it. Because that means we will definitely be leaving this stop on time. All right, so we're going to open doors now on the left side. And we have a minute. We can hop outside, take a look. And in fact, you know what we could do? We could even, I think we've got a minute and a half. So we can even stand up, come back here. I'll close this first because I always forget. We can even step out here. Where's the door? There it is. We can even step out. This, ma'am, you can even step out here and take a look at the thing from, oh, you know what? We got our own door. Fantastic. All right. So then when we go back in here, back up here, close that door, close that door. Beautiful. We just hop right out here. Okay. If we get to another stop and have some extra time, oh dear, can't get back in the whip. We made it. All right. If we have more time at another platform, we can do that same thing. Okay. I want to say the last time I did this, I lost, I'd say probably 5 or 10 seconds per stop. So by the time we got to the end of the route, which is 60 kilometers, I think, by the time we got to the end of the route, we were about 45 seconds behind, which is not terrible. You know, I'll take it. I've certainly had trains that I was waiting for in the US and in Europe be a minute late, and you don't even notice. A minute you don't notice. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you know, you start to notice. But a minute, no, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. All right, so we'll get rolling here, and we got 20 seconds. Taking a look at the map, we're starting from not quite the end of the route, but we're headed down here somewhere. All right. I'll try to be mindful of my my timetable here. So we'll get these closed. Like so. Tempo mat going again. So I think we're in a 120, but we're going to a 110. And so what I'm going to do is just set the speed limiter to 110, because by the time we accelerate, we'll be moving into that 110 anyway. There's no point accelerating and then decelerating. I don't think we'd gain a lot of time. The extra 10 kilometers per hour for a couple hundred meters, I think we're okay. All right. So this is one of, there's 2 new routes. There's this route and there's the Bakerloo Underground. And then Sandpatch Grade is a route from previous iteration of Train Sim World. And, you know, I'm trying not to be negative about games. I'm trying to be, find the good things in them. But we're at 60 FPS right now. We're capped at 60, so we're bouncing back and forth between 60 and 61. And I really don't think the game looks very good. It looks almost like a watercolor. It's really, I don't know. It does not look very realistic or immersive to me at all. And the pop in and the draw distance is just, it's crazy. I can't believe what a step backwards they've taken in terms of the way the game looks. Now, some of that may be that You know, everybody was kind of up their ass to optimize the game, speed it up, and make it not so taxing on equipment. And we definitely hold a higher frame rate now than we have in the past. But at what price? You know, and this is on ultra settings, and our scaling is at 125. That's the highest I can go on the scaling without starting to have frame drops. Not frame drops, that's not a good way to say it. Without starting to have FPS really be impacted by yards and by passing trains and some of the things that we had with TSW 2020, where you'd be at 60 FPS when you're out in the middle of nowhere, but then you get to a yard and it drops to 20. So I can scale to 125 and everything's fine. If I go to like 150, I do start to see those ups and downs with FPS. So I'm going to leave it at 125. I mean, I don't think it looks, I don't want to say this. I don't think it looks bad, but it certainly doesn't look like a new game. You know, it doesn't look like a step forward for the franchise. So who knows? Who knows? And we might be, yeah, we might be on time here as well. But you've really got to be aggressive and stay right on the speed limit to be on time. I know that sounds kind of obvious. Like, obviously you need to go fast to get places in a timely manner, but you also need to be mindful of speed limits. Get these open. Be mindful of speed limits and also of overshooting the platform. Right. And I'm trying to think anything else. This is the same, I want to say this is the same loco. Did we get our, yeah, we got our back end onto the platform. I want to say this is the same train set from Rapid Transit, but in Rapid Transit you only run singles. Is that right? Whereas in this case we're on a double. Yeah, I think that may be accurate. I might know what I'm talking about. I might not. But so this is, I guess in that way, this is recycled as well, this train set that we're in. But in fairness, there's not like an unlimited number of train sets running on German railroads at the moment. So of course you're going to see some crossover. In the same way you're going to see the GP38. It doesn't matter how many US freight railroads Dovetail were to make, you would see the GP38 a lot because it's used, it's so common on US railroads, US freight railroads. All right. We've got 7 kilometers to go. I think this is one of the sections where the speed limit is going to try to catch me out, but we'll be prepared for it. Hopefully we can avoid it. So what are some good things I can say about the game? The sound is great. I'm really liking the sound. I know a lot of people complain about the sound. They say it's like recycled from other games and other sims, and it's not accurate, it's not authentic. You know, it might not be, but it works for me, and it's probably because I'm not enough of a rail fan to really know, you know, how accurate some of these sounds are. But I don't mind it. Doesn't bother me. It's got a nice, I think they're using Fmod, but it's got a nice, I don't know, sort of surround quality to it. It's immersive. I like the sound. And what else? The game is playing faster. I mean, there's no denying that. Like I said earlier, at what price? But it is playing faster, and that's something we were asking for. Be careful what you wish for. All right, we're gonna get up to 160 now, and there's a little placard right here. I don't really sprechen Sie, you know what I'm saying? But I'm pretty sure that means don't go over 160 kilometers per hour, and so we won't. And yeah, so right up here somewhere, there's going to be, I think it says we're dropping to 120, but it gives us plenty of warning. It says we're dropping to 120 in like 4 kilometers. But then toward the end of that, as you come around like one of the turns, there's a blinking green. And then I think it says 80, dropping to 80. And when you get one of those, you need to acknowledge it with the PZB. And you also need to get the train slowed below a certain threshold within a certain number of seconds. Yeah, so it says we're slowing to 80, where there's going to be an 80 kilometer speed limit in 3.7 kilometers, and we're stopping in 3.7 kilometers, 3.4 now, but you know what I mean. But I feel like we need to brake a little earlier. As I've been sort of practicing this, we need to brake a little bit earlier than we think we would. Yeah, see, we got this blinking green right now, so I'm going to start braking. I'm going to slow it down to 120, and then we'll get this one, and this has the yellow 8 on it, so we'll acknowledge the PZB, and then we need to get stopped. We need to get slowed down below 80 within a certain number of seconds. I hope we make it. Okay, so we are now under 85. All right, those are the ones that catch me out, because I don't know, like, I've never found a full explanation for all the signage and how it's all set up on German railroads. I've found some from the Train Simulator franchise by fans. I've found some for Train Sim World 2020 by fans. And there's also some literature and documentation for Train Sim World 2020. Not so much for Train Sim World 2 yet, although it's supposed to be released soon. And I am acknowledging all of those. I know I don't have to PZB acknowledge all of those signals, but I do just in case, because I don't know which ones I have to and which ones I don't. So, yep, trying to understand all these signals. It's fun. It definitely adds a lot as far as like making the game challenging and making it immersive. I think it adds a lot, but it doesn't feel fully, you know, realized sometimes. It feels like it's incomplete. And I know on the rapid transit route, it was just straight up broken. Like, you couldn't use the PZB, and it just didn't work. A lot of people were not happy about that. So we've got about 12 seconds to get in here, and we did possibly brake a little bit early, but we did have that slow zone that we went into, and I'd rather, like, we would be a whole lot later if we had triggered the PZB auto brake, automatic braking system. If we had triggered that, we would be a lot later, because it takes about a minute to get the train going again. So even though we lost some time by slowing early, I'd rather do that than lose more time. And it's tricky to restart the train as well, like to the point where I mean, I guess I know how to do it, but I'm also kind of button mashing, trying to figure it out, because it doesn't always seem like you do the same things to get a train going again. All right, 40 seconds late. We can make up some time. All right, there's that. We'll get the doors open, like so. Go third person, take a look. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing, I wouldn't say there's anything to complain about if you were seeing this sort of sim for the first time. I think it's only in the context of expectations and hype and everything else that sort of disappointed us based on what we were expecting. But like a lot of games, a lot of sims, if they just dropped out of nowhere, if we had never seen or heard anything about them and they just dropped out of nowhere and they were suddenly there, we would be absolutely blown away. But in the context of expectations and what the developer said was going to happen and our list of grievances from the previous version in the franchise or whatever, that's when, you know, when we get a game or a sim like that, that's when you get that backlash. But it's try to strike a balance between being pleased with what you get and being disappointed that it's not what it was supposed to be. Maybe it's a good way to say it. All right, so we're in an 80 right now, and then we're going to a 160, and we've got 9K to go to the next stop. And this one, if I recall, this 9K run that we're going to do right here, this has another one of those sort of oddball speed things, so we're really going to need to be mindful of that and not get caught out. And this one, I want to say, it's the same thing. Like, it says it's going to 200. We max out at 160, but it'll say the speed limit on the track is going to 200, and then out of nowhere there will be a signal that says we have to drop to 80. That's what's happened to me a couple times. So we'll be super, super careful that we don't get busted. But man, if we can make it end to end on this, that would be very cool. We'll do that. We'll do that. All right. And this is the same route. This is, of the 3 routes, one is Sandpatch, one is the London Underground, and the other is this German route that also has the ICE high-speed train on it. And it's interesting that as you're rolling on this route, you don't see a lot of traffic. I would really like to see Dovetail add more traffic to the routes. I know it's, what, 5:40 in the morning? I know it's early, but I'd like to see some, I don't know, a little bit of life, a little bit of movement. I feel like Will Smith sometimes when we're kicking around and there's just nothing else moving anywhere. But whatever, we got time. We can get plenty of updates in the future, and they'll fix all that stuff. I say that optimistically. Who knows whether they will or not. Man, that draw distance though, is that just look at those shadows popping in. That's got to be maybe 200 feet in front of us. That is just game. Why you got to do me like that? And I'm in the habit of refreshing the SEPA every time we pass a signal. They are typically 1 kilometer apart, and at this speed that's like 20 seconds, 15 seconds. So that's just a habit I'm in. Try to avoid that horrible ear-piercing sound that it makes. There's that. Alright, so this says 200, but it's not true. It's a lie. And so what I'm going to do is when we get to about 3 kilometers out from our stop, I'm going to start slowing down so that when we do get to that speed signal, we are sort of prepped for it. And I want to say it's even right up here. So I'm going to start slowing down now. This might make us late to this next stop, but I'd rather be late than trigger that auto braking. So there's that. Alright, where is it? Is this it right here? Yep, this is it. So this is an 80. And we are going to slow to 80. There's our blinking green. Yep. We will acknowledge that. Okay, and I think what that is, I know we could be going much faster right now, but I think what that is it's going to move us over onto like a siding to load and unload, and I think we need to be slowed down to pull over onto that siding. Like, we couldn't head into that siding at 160, so I think it's got to slow us down. But yeah, until I don't want to memorize these. That to me, that's not a way that you would operate a train, just by memorizing the route. I feel like there needs to be like a standardized system, right? And then any train driver who knows that system could get into any train on that company's railroad, and they'd be able to operate any train on any route. In the same way that you can, like, if you understand how airports work, you can go into any airport in the world and you can find your way around. You can find your gate, you can find your plane, right? And you don't necessarily need to know that airport, right? Like that particular airport, because you just know airports. So I don't want to memorize the routes, and I think I may have just deactivated my tempo mat. I hope I didn't, because that'll really complicate things for the rest of our trip. But we'll figure it out. All right. Slow down here. And we are, yeah, we're still, even with that sort of unexpected stop, we're only about 30 seconds behind. I'll take it. That's not bad. Doors open. And we'll try to get our tempo mat, our AFB, we'll try to get that reset when we leave here. I would love to have it for these next couple stretches. All right, what's this look like from outside? It's a little bigger. It's a little bigger. And I think, so that center track would be the Express. That would be the one that stays at 200 kilometers. God, that would be unnerving, having a train pass you at 200 or 250 while you're standing on one of the platforms. I know you're one track removed from it, but that's awfully fast. All right, we're gonna get loaded up here. All right. There is that. So if the doors close and we bring this back to neutral, right there, and then, yep, okay, so we can get that back. Fantastic. I was worried we were going to need to like reset the entire train, all the electronics, everything. Beautiful. All right, we're still rolling. And we're not that far behind schedule. So we got a 20-kilometer run, and I believe we'll do all of this at 160. Because we're going to move back onto the main line here. That'll put us back at, the speed limit will be 200, which is fine for us because we can't go faster than 160 anyway. But we're back at 200 now. Once the end of the train clears. Beautiful. And then even when it goes to 250, that won't impact us in any way. All right. So now, there's that. So now, as long as we just monitor for any type of change in the speed on the track, I think we'll be okay the rest of the way in. And we have got, we've got this stop, and then I think one more like right in here, and then we'll pull into Cologne proper. Okay. All right, so we got that. We got that. Yeah, there really aren't that many train simulators that sort of bring together enough realism. The Train Sim World franchise, Train Sim World 2020, Train Sim World 2, neither one of them are super realistic, like say something like Zeusy is. But I find them to be more realistic than something like Derail Valley, which is almost more of an arcade game. It's a cool game, and it's early access. I'm not sure where Derail Valley is going to go long term, but this is one of those franchises that they kind of got you. You know, there's not, if you're into racing sims or driving sims, there's tons of those. I think I own a dozen, you know, and they're all good in their own way. But for things like Truck Simulator, there is one Truck Simulator. It's just one. I know some people have tried things, and there have been some early access, and there are some other, but there's only one Truck Sim, and SCS knows it. In the same way, there's really only one Farm Sim, and Giants knows it. There was a whole flurry of them, like maybe 2 years ago. There was Pure Farming and Farmer's Dynasty, and a lot of different studios sort of took a run at Giants, Cattle and Crops, and none of them really bit. None of them took off. There is one Farm Simulator franchise. There is one Truck Simulator franchise. And I think it's definitely kind of a moral hazard for those. Hey, Matthew, how you doing, brother? I think it's really a moral hazard for a studio like that because they know there's no competition. They know their audience can't go somewhere else to get their truck fix or their farm fix or their train fix, So it's up to a studio like that to really try to treat their customers well, even though they don't have to. And what we're seeing right now with Dovetail might be an example of that. You know, this is a studio that knows there's really nothing else like what they do. So whether they do it well or do it poorly, people are still going to buy it. All right. This doesn't seem fast compared to the ICE, but we're kind of hauling ass here. Be careful. Matthew, what part of NorCal you in? You don't have to be super specific, but like whereabouts are you, if you don't mind saying? Central Valley, okay. I lived in Mammoth and I lived in Tahoe for a while, South Lake Tahoe. And I missed the Angora fire, but I heard it was really something right in town like that. Madness. Stay safe, brother. You know what? Anywhere north of like, anywhere north of San Luis Obispo, as far as I'm concerned, that's NorCal. Man, anytime I'm doing something like this, train sim, flight sim, anything, even truck sim, where like the further along we go, the more devastating some type of incident would be, the more nervous I get. Like, oh, I would hate to screw it up right at the end. Oh, right on. Okay. Yep. I've got some people in Gilroy, and I've got some people in Gustine. And of course, when we go out the other end of the valley, anytime I'm in Yosemite, if I don't go out the Mammoth end, the Lee Vining end, then you come out on the Fresno side. So, yep, I know that area. Right on. It is. It really is. And what's the other one? They do one, it's not a garlic festival, but they do a festival, a food festival in St. Helena, I want to say, up in Napa. That's a good one, too. Really good olive oil. It seems like there's a lot of small olive oil operations in and around St. Helena. All right. So this is, let's start slowing down now. Same, you know, let's just be safe. So that's in 3.4K is that drop, and our stop is in 3.6. So yeah, let's just be safe. Asparagus. I got to look that up as soon as I'm done. I didn't know there was an asparagus festival. Big fan of the asparagus. I'll have to check that out. All right. So there is our blinking green. Let's go ahead and slow down a little bit more. And this is 100. We'll acknowledge this one. We're already at 100. Okay. I think I did that a bit early, but we're not that late. I mean, we got a minute 10 seconds to go about 1.5K. So I think we're okay on time. We're going to be a little bit late, but I think we did the right thing. All right. So we'll acknowledge this one. And we'll start slowing for our station stop. We'll acknowledge that one, right? So I'm told that you have to PZB acknowledge any signal indicating a speed limit of 100 kilometers or less, and also any speed change under 100 kilometers. So like anything 100 or lower, but also if it goes from like 80 to 60 or something, you have to acknowledge that as well. I don't know. All right, Matthew. Thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate it. Stay safe. All right. Yep. I over acknowledge. I acknowledge anything, any signal on a German route. I just hit that button. All right. Let's get this stopped. All right. Yeah, 28 seconds. 28 seconds after 40 miles. I'll take it. Could be worse. Could be worse. All right. Hop out here. Whoa. All right. Careful with the camera. Saw one of the developers say they know how bad the people are. The people in the game, not like people in general, not people in the real world. They know how bad people in the game are, and they are working to either fix them or potentially get rid of them. I don't know, man. The one thing about SnowRunner that really creeped me out is there's nothing moving in the game. You absolutely feel like the last person on Earth, and I don't know. When I look at a very lively, living landscape like Truck Sim, where there's just activity everywhere, and compare it to something like SnowRunner, that's just really kind of lifeless, or even Farm Sim for that matter. There's a little bit of activity, but I would love to see a lot more variety in the traffic in Farm Sim. Acknowledge that. And I really want to see farm equipment in traffic. I'm not sure why that can't be a thing, but I would love to see different types of farm equipment moving around at different times of year. So in the spring, you're seeing fertilizers and seeders and planters and that sort of thing. In the summertime, you're seeing trailers taking grain to market. In the fall, you're seeing combine harvesters. Right? I'd love to see that. And just, I don't know, make the world seem more alive and make it seem like something you're participating in. All right, and we're back up to 160. And we're going to, so this is not Cologne proper. This is, we'll hit the SIFA and then we'll go to the map. Yep, we've got one stop here, then I think our next stop is like the big central station right in here somewhere. So, oh, there's some traffic. There's a little bit of movement, speak of the devil. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a list. Everybody has a way that they would like games to be. And it's so weird to me that some fan bases, some customer bases, and some developers, it all just seems to work. Right? You look at SCS, that just seems to work. Even the Farm Sim community, as weird as FS19 and that drop was for me, and how I sort of at that point moved back to FS17, for the most part, I think the Farm Sim community, the Farm Sim fan base is very committed. They communicate, they're happy with FS19, and it's a minority of players like myself that chose to go back to FS17. But for the most part, that's a good relationship between the developer and the fan base. But it's, I don't know, sometimes it really works well, and sometimes it just seems like the players of a certain game or a certain sim and the developers of that sim, it's like they're just at each other's throats. You know, they're really not, I don't want to say they don't like each other, but they're not communicating somehow. They're not working well together. And I don't know. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. There are what's another one? Tarkov maybe? as intense and violent and frustrating as that game is, the core player base seems really well connected to Nikita and his devs, and Nikita and the devs seem responsive to input and feedback from the fan base, and they communicate well. There's a lot of live streams, a lot of drops, right? A lot of conversation, explanation about what is being included in the next patch and what is not and why, you know? And that just seems like a really good model. So some developers can pull it off, some can't. Some fan bases can pull it off and some can't. Who knows? Who knows? I want this game to succeed. Train Sim, the Train Sim franchise, I want it to succeed. I want it to thrive. I just feel like there's a disconnect right now between the devs and the customers. And I would certainly count myself, the amount of money that I put into TSW 2020, including all the DLC at full retail, I would have to think that I hope that I would represent like one of the upper tiers of their customer base. I bought everything that they released. I bought CSX Heavy Haul, which then became Train Sim World and then Train Sim World 2020. I bought it for full retail, and I bought every DLC for full retail. There's nothing else I can do to support the developers. There's nothing else I can do to be a good customer. And myself and a lot of other people just really don't feel like there's a connection between us as customers and Dovetail as a developer. So hopefully we can all work it out, because I do want the sim to succeed. It sort of has to, because for me there's not really another train simulator that works for me. I think I've tried all of them. The open source ones, I have a lot of respect for them, and I certainly appreciate them in the same way that I appreciate something like Richard Burns' Rally, which it's not for me. I can't get there. I can't get immersed based on the graphics, but I understand how much people love and appreciate that game. Makes sense? So, yeah, I mean, if there was another train sim, I might be playing it, but there isn't. So I'm playing this one, and that makes me sort of committed to its success. We'll see how it all works out. All right, we don't have very far to go. We're getting into, I guess, the suburbs of Cologne right now, and then we will get into Cologne proper, and that's even though the speed limits are really kind of low, that is the trickiest part for me. All right, let's get slowed down here. I turned off my tempo mat again, but we know we can turn it back on now. So that's a good thing. A little bit more brake. And this is using the new physics model. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say I can't feel it. Maybe it's different, maybe it's not. I feel like I'm not noticing it enough, maybe. But again, if it's a realism thing, if it's an immersion thing, you wouldn't want it to be super obvious, right? Over the top. So, Alright, so we get slowed down here. I think the difference between braking with the tempo mat and braking manually, you brake a lot more aggressively manually, but I don't know what that does for customer comfort, passenger comfort. Because there is a G meter in the HUD now. Alright, left side door is open. This signal right in front of us, I think we're going to need to acknowledge this, and also this 70 km/h sign. I think we're going to need to acknowledge these as we leave here, or we're going to get emergency braking, and I do not want that. Not this close to the end. All right, so we're going to bring the brakes off a little bit, so we're that much closer to being ready to depart, and we don't Yeah, we don't have very far to go. It's just a few kilometers up into here. I don't know how much of this is living track and how much of it is just a little bit of marketing, you know? I know a lot of it you can use, but I don't know if you can use all of it for like creating scenarios and that sort of stuff. All right, I'm nervous. I don't want to screw this up this close to the end. Right. Close doors. There. Turn that on. All right, here we go. And I'm just going to acknowledge everything. Okay, we are in a 1,000 hertz zone. So glad I did that. So we're going to max out at 85 kilometers per hour. And we've got less than 2 miles to go. So we really don't need to go very fast. And we're also coming up on a 70. Not too very long from now. So we'll set the tempomat to 65. And hopefully this will get us all the way into the big train station in Cologne. Okay. Just over a mile. And we do have 2.5 minutes to get there. So they're either going to slow us down quite a bit more. We're slowing to 60. So let's get that dialed in early. Don't need to, but let's be safe. Yep. So we've got green over yellow. Okay. Yep, still okay. There's the cathedral. Beautiful. All right. There's our 60. Get some lights on. We'll go to 40 now. Right? Yep, that's right. All right. And then from there, I mean, 40 is what, 25 miles an hour? I think from there we're just going to coast into the station. Yep, there it is. Okay. Go to 35 just to keep things absolutely legit. 30 seconds, quarter of a mile. I don't know. I mean, we're mostly on time for the majority of the route. I think the most we were late was about 45 seconds. We'll find out when we do the screen at the end. We'll see exactly how we did. All right. We've got a hard stop in front. Okay, so we'll be aware of that. So it's looking like less than a minute late for all of our stops, which is not great, but I'll take it. That's not terrible. All right. There we go. Ah, the relief. We made it. All right, so we will open those. And now we can, over here. Come out here, take a look around. Oh, shit, it's like right there. Okay, I thought it was close to the train station. I didn't know it was that close. That is like, that's right across the street. Okay, very cool, very nice. All right. And I believe it will ask us to close the doors, and then that will be the end of the scenario. Not a scenario, it's a timetable, right? All right, so we'll get these good people loaded up, and we'll call it. And we are, interesting. Okay, so there's a 2,000 hertz, there's a 1,000 hertz, there's a 500 hertz. 500 hertz sets our maximum speed to 25 kilometers an hour, but there's no margin for error, so that means we would want to max out at about 20. All right, close the doors and see how we did. There we go. All right, wow. So with the Tempomat, this really keeps you locked at the speed limit, and this is when we were going 160 in a 200. Now, it didn't give us a gold medal. I'm a little disappointed about that, but what can you do? All right, that's it. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. See you next time. Take care.